Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Aaron White Show. And I'm your host, Aaron. Today, we have a fantastic guest, Boyd Conrick. Boyd is a surf lifesaver, a firefighter, and a children's book author. Welcome to the show, Boyd.
Hello, Aaron. How are you?
Yep, fantastic, thanks. Hey, I think we might dive in, and we might start with the surf lifesaving. Can you please tell me how and why you got into that and what you actually do?
I've been involved with the Surf Life Saving Club as a volunteer for probably over 30 years now, or probably 35 years. I'm in my mid-40s, and when I was young, my father was involved with the local surf club here near Newcastle, and my older brothers also joined the surf club. It was a great place where there was a lot of camaraderie and a good team environment, and I think offered you a chance to do something worthwhile for the local community, like community service through the volunteer patrols. And the experience and awareness you got from going in and out of the water, and you think the things you learned about the surf sort of gave you some valuable lessons that you hold close today, and the fitness too involved with that, like all the surfing and paddling and things like that. All those things were, just close to me and my family, and they're probably the main reasons why I got involved in surf life saving from the beginning.
Well, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that it's a big family type thing, and it's been in your families, as you said, with your dad and that. I know you got two kids. Are they doing the surf lifesaving? Are they doing the skippers? Not skippers. Are they doing the nippers or anything?
Yeah. Both my kids are involved with the nippers. My son especially loves it. He loves the competition side of it. With my daughter, I think she's even younger. She's only about 6 at the moment, and she enjoys it just to have a bit of fun with her friends at the beach, be outdoors. And as I said before, I think that camaraderie and you get to just sort of hang out with your friends at the beach. And I think with the kids, they're learning a lot of stuff without even knowing it. So again, I think if you live near the ocean, unfortunately, it can be a dangerous place. And I think, my kids just love it, love that surf. And I think it'll be good for them as they get older, to develop those skills.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm in Secret Harbour, so we're like 3Ks, probably a bit less from the beach. I really want to get my kids into the nippers. Here you go. Have you got any good rescue stories you can share with us?
I've made plenty of rescues over the years in different capacities, some more serious than others. One that was probably a fairly big one, what we call a mass rescue, which involves quite a few people. It occurred a fair few years ago now, but at my local beach, Redhead, it can be quite challenging. It gets a fair bit of swell, and there's a big rock, big headland, big cliff up in the corner. I think it was one afternoon there, we were getting ready to pack up the patrol just before 5 p.m, and we're getting ready to pull down the red and yellow flags when somebody ran down and said, there's 3 young people have gone into the ocean up near the cliff, a couple of 100 metres away, and they're in trouble. So it was a really good example of a rescue that involved the whole team. I went out with the rescue tube, which is one of our pieces of equipment we can use. Another guy on patrol that I've known for years, Glenn, he came out on a rescue board. It wasn't really suitable though for the rescue board, and the other guys on patrol quickly got hold of the rubber ducky, or the real name's the IRB, the inflatable rescue boat. They started that up and were able to get the 3 young teenagers in, basically with the tube and the board. We're able to take them from near the cliff back to the IRB, and the IRB then transported those rescued back to the beach, to the safety of the beach. So it all worked out really well, which was great. But it showed you that was a really good example of how everybody on patrol can offer something and be of assistance and be important to the overall rescue as such. Yeah.
So that tube that you had, how close do you get to that person who's in danger? I'm just thinking if you get really close, they might try to just grab you and like try to maybe possibly pull you down.
Yeah.
Throw it from like 5 to 10
Yeah,
meters.
well, yeah, exactly, and that's why something like a rescue tube, it's made out of foam. It's usually red or orange. You see them on the beach, sometimes hanging on the patrol flags on the poles. They've got a piece of really floatable or buoyant rubber or foam joined to a rope that then has a loop. The rescuer, so that was me, I put that loop around my shoulders. I swim out with the tube behind me. I then offer that to the person when I get to them. And it's able to help keep them afloat, because most of these people obviously are struggling to stay on the surface of the water. And you give them that reassurance, both verbally, but also by giving them that tube. They can stay afloat, help settle them down. And then you come behind them and you can clip them in to that tube. And then once they're clipped in, you turn around, let them go, and you tow them all the way back. You have to swim quite hard, but you tow them back to like the IRB on that particular day I was talking about, or back to the shoreline. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So do you have the IRB and the jet skis and stuff? Are they on every beach, or every surf lifesaving club has different gear?
Yeah, so most surf lifesaving clubs have both the IRBs, the rubber duckies, and also the jet skis. When I completed that rescue, that was quite a fair few years ago, the jet skis weren't as common then, or not as a rescue tool. They have somewhat replaced the rubber duckies to a degree, because they only need to be manned by one person rather than two. So, and they can also get into a lot of tighter areas. As I said on that day, the rubber ducky itself couldn't get in close to the rocks and the cliff, but a jet ski would have been able to. So, yeah, there's a lot of different equipment that are good for different kinds of conditions and for different parts of Australia, because as you know, whether it's Secret Harbour in Western Australia or Redhead in New South Wales or anywhere around Australia, there's surf lifesaving clubs that offer patrols, and they'll probably, some will rely on some different types of rescue equipment more than others. Yeah.
Well, that makes perfect sense. So that jet ski, they tow behind a like a sort of rescue board thing, and when the person is struggling in the water, the jet ski just comes up next to them, and the person struggling holds onto the back of that rescue board thing that they tow. Is that correct? Is that how that works?
Yeah, it's like a oversized boogie board or body board, and it can fit or float quite a few people. They can even come up and sit on it, or they can hold onto it and get towed along. But yeah, it's really big, really buoyant, and yeah, you find that at the back of all the jet skis.
Ah, sweet. Do you find when you're on patrol, there's lots of people that don't swim inside the red and yellow flags, or is everybody normally pretty good?
Yeah, I think you do find a lot of people still don't swim between the red and yellow flags. You get a fair few teenagers, young guys especially, they'll come down and, I don't know, they might try and think they're too cool maybe, or that they're above the law or the recommendations of the lifesavers, and they'll take a fair few risks. It's no surprise that, just statistically speaking, around Australia, the number of guys that, and young guys especially, that have to be rescued far outweighs that of females. So, yeah, you do get that unfortunately, but hopefully with more education, those numbers of people swimming outside the flags will go down.
Well, that's a perfect little segue. You talking about the education. We might jump onto the books. What was the reason behind you writing those books?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, I had kids who are only fairly young at the moment. They're at infants in primary school, and I noticed when I started reading children's literature to them, there didn't seem to be a lot of quality surf safety information out there, and I thought, yeah, with my experience, I could probably, tell a few okay stories that young people would find interesting and also educational. The other thing I wanted to do was paint the local surf lifesaver, the volunteer surf lifesaver, as heroic, but also something that any young boy or girl could aspire to be. You didn't have to have huge muscles or be a super swimmer or paddler. You too can, join your local surf club, do a little bit of work to attain the certificates required, and then have your place on that patrol. And as I said earlier, rescues aren't all about somebody that's a champion swimmer or paddler. You need people first and foremost to recognise that somebody's in trouble. You do need people to go out there. You also need people sometimes to get on that phone, ring ambulances, get on the radio, contact helicopters, all sorts of things. So I think I just wanted to, create that surf life saving, the volunteer movement, and show that it took all sorts of people to join it, and it was cool to be able to give something back to your local community. So hopefully boys and girls reading the books I've put out and your stuff too that you've created, hopefully they read those sort of books and go, yeah, well I can be part of that one day, So yeah, that's sort of the main reasons for writing them.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll talk about diversity. So, is it always just Caucasian males and females in the surf lifesaving, or is there lots of Asians and mixed races and stuff?
Yeah, there is probably more so these days, and more so in areas such as Sydney and places like that, seeing more and more joining, which is great. And I think, because one thing that does occur, unfortunately, is I know on the east coast of Australia especially, and through rock fishing, a lot of the people that need rescuing, unfortunately, are a lot of they're from non-English speaking backgrounds. And that's why the signage is so important. So we've got these people going down to the beach that aren't aware that it's a dangerous place to be. So it makes sense for Surf Life Saving Australia and for Surf Life Saving clubs to attract people that aren't from typical English-speaking backgrounds themselves, so they too can better understand the ocean, and and all the signage that we've got supports that too. We've got a lot of pictorials, but we've also got some of the signage not only in English but in other languages too.
Well, that's really good that they do that. Makes sense, especially when we've got a lot of tourism here in Australia. And yeah, there's lots of people that can't speak our language. I guess the pictures are really good because any culture really can figure out what a picture's going on about.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I know you have a friend, Jess. Can you tell me about her, what she's up to, what's happened there?
Yes. So Jess Collins, Jessica Collins, she was a volunteer lifesaver with the same club as myself, Redhead. She's a champion surf swimmer too. She second in the Australian titles a few years ago, and she unfortunately suffered an horrific spinal injury at the end of May 2018 while she was surfing with friends. She fell the wrong way off a stand-up paddleboard on a reasonably shallow sandbank and landed on her head. Now she sustained a injury to her spinal cord and column in the I think it's the C3, C4 area, so up high. She only has partial movement in one of her hands. She's in a wheelchair and she's going through some major rehabilitation, which is costly. And the whole community where I live sort of have got behind Jess and supported her in a few different ways, as a Surf Life Saving family tend to do when something like this occurs. She's from a great family. And I thought with the second book I released, which I released in December last year, I thought all the money from that book, from all the book sales, I'd give to Jess to help her with the rehabilitation. And I was able, actually in July, I gave her a cheque for just over $4,000, that being for about 30% of the books I had printed, that I'd sold. I gave her a cheque, and hopefully I've got a couple more coming in the next 12 to 18 months. So Jess is in a struggle, a real fight, but she's very tenacious. She's very positive. She is making some great headway with that rehabilitation, and I know myself and plenty of others in the community in and around Newcastle are very supportive and keen to see her back in the surf one day.
Yeah, well, hopefully it all works out for her really well. If somebody wanted to buy one of your books so then they could help her, where would they go for that?
The best place to go for that is www.lizzieandluke.com. You can buy the books there, and I can send them out to you. And the money from the second book, that all gets transferred over to Jess's foundation. So that's the best way to do it.
I'll have to confirm for the audience. I've actually got both books, and they're actually really cool. And both my boys really like them. So I reckon they're fantastic books. Thanks
for that. I appreciate that. And hopefully I think they do appeal to children in all parts of Australia, because they, whether you live near the beach or not, it's something that often people go to for holidays at least. So to have that little bit of surf awareness is so important. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I reckon it's a fantastic thing that you've done. That's the same with all my books. Basically, both doing the same thing. We're trying to educate other people, because we both found a lack in the books that were already made. So, we've took it upon ourselves to educate all these young kids, like new things that they normally wouldn't learn about. I know you're a full-time firefighter. Can you tell us what you actually do there?
Yeah, okay. So I've been with the Fire Brigade, with Fire Rescue New South Wales, actually, is our new term, new organisation's name, and I've been with them for over 20 years. I'm in the role of station commander, so I'm the in charge at the station I'm at locally in Newcastle. Seen plenty of things over the years and been to different kinds of rescues. We have branched out over all those years, so it's not just fire that we go to these days. We tend to go to a lot of other calls too, whether it's motor vehicle accidents, things like floodings, or the other day we went to plenty of things when the really strong winds came through here, so we might get trees down, have power lines down. So all those threats from things like that, there might be electricity there that's a danger, there might be fire, there might be water, so it's quite a diverse job that we do these days, and it always offers something fairly interesting, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I've done emergency response through work. So we've used the cutters and spreaders on fake, like car accidents and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what was it. What's your main occupation normally?
I'm a dump truck operator on a gold mine, but I also obviously do the children's books and I do podcasting as well. I get bored really easily, so I need to keep doing stuff. Oh, have you got any good rescue stories, firefighting one?
Yeah, I could tell you... I'll give you an example of a good one that teaches probably families or young people something to always be aware of that I saw happen not that long ago, actually. I went to a fire that had occurred overnight in a first floor apartment. So it's up a set of stairs. It was only a 2-bedroom apartment, and the family were from a non-English speaking background. And not that had a massive impact on what occurred, but the mother was a little bit frantic. She had 3 young children. The father was away, and something had been left on overnight in the kitchen, and it had slowly started to burn. And rather than the place being on rapid fire, it was smoke-filled, smoke-logged, and smoke can be just as dangerous as any byproduct of fire because it fills a room and obviously takes away the oxygen that we breathe. And anyway, 2 children and the mother were outside or downstairs, and she's saying, I don't know where my other kid is. She's gone, I saw her upstairs. She was looking for the cat. So the young girl has gone back inside the apartment looking for a cat and hadn't come out. So we went back in. We'd extinguished the small fire in the kitchen by this stage, and this small fire created so much smoke it was really difficult to see. And we're in there in breathing apparatus, and that, like the tanks we were on our back and the face mask. Anyway, we're looking and we found this young girl hiding under the bed, and so we got her out. She was still breathing okay, and everything went okay, and she was fine, but it could have been much worse. And it's a good lesson to learn because you should never go back into a house looking for anybody else or your pets. You should just get out to the safe area, find your mum or your parents, even the firefighters, because this young girl, had she stayed in that room and we didn't know about her or we didn't find her, she might have suffocated by her inability to breathe after too long. So yeah, I thought that was a really good lesson. I thought that came out of that fire, that always come out, let the firefighters go in and find anybody else. Let the firefighters go in and find the cat or the dog or whatever pet you're concerned about. Don't go back into a burning or smoke-filled building.
No, I totally agree with that. Yeah, we learned that when we were doing our ERT. And also, don't hide. See how she hid. If she was in more plain view, they could have found her, grabbed her and taken her out.
You make a good point there. I think she was hiding too, because once you hear the firemen coming through, you're hardly hearing our voices. All you're hearing when you've got breathing masks on is that really that like a Darth Vader type sound, like quite a scary.
Scared.
Yeah, and I think she was probably scared with everything that was going on, and that's where I think when we go around to childcare centres and do education presentations with the fire brigade, we make sure that we show the kids the breathing apparatus and what it looks like and how it sounds, because it can be a little bit foreign to them. And I think that was scaring her a little bit, and the one reason why she was hiding. Yeah, so something to be aware of for sure.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Might wrap it up. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Boyd. Did you have fun?
Yeah, no, it was great, Aaron, and I'll look forward to some more podcasts in the future and see what else you create, and stay in touch. And I'll let you know of any advancements with Jess Collins, and hopefully it's all positive news in the future. And yeah, have a great end of the year. Thanks very much for your time.
No worries. Well, that's a wrap. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Boyd for coming on the show, and a massive thank you to all of the surf lifesavers and firefighters out there. You guys do an amazing job. And I'd like to thank you, the listener, for listening. Please tell a friend about the podcast